In 100 yards, turn right onto Dover Road. Turn right onto Dover Road.
You may have had a drink. I don't know. Is that one of the key questions? But that would have been one.
The chairman of Credit Suisse.
Continue for 1.5 miles.
Into alleged breaches of COVID rules. An internal inquiry at the bank reports founder Antonio Horta Osorio broke restrictions in both the UK and Switzerland. It's predicted the number of families spending at least 10% of their budgets on energy bills will triple in the coming months. The Resolution Foundation says the proportion will increase after the new energy price cap comes into effect in April. A British woman living in Tonga has been reported missing after Saturday's tsunami. A glove hasn't been seen since her home was hit by the waves caused by an undercover volcanic eruption. Parts of one of London's busiest tube lines have now been closed for 17 weeks for upgrade work. It's the first working day of the bank branch on the Northern Line being shut until mid-May between Kennington and Moorgate. In the city, the FTSE 100 will reopen at 75.42 after closing down 20 points on Friday, and the pound closed €1.36 and €1.19. LBC weather: after a chilly start, most areas fine and dry with plenty of sunshine. Cloudy at times in the northwest and parts and the Midlands. A high of 9 degrees. From Global's newsroom for LBC, I'm Simon Conway.
We all have a fire inside us. It gives us energy and spirit to do the things we love. Every morning we get to feed that fire and set ourselves up for the day with a warming and satisfying bowl of Quaker oats. Because when we feed it right, when it's fully ablaze, we can...
In 300 yards, keep right to continue towards Tuns Lane, A355.
here we are. They will announce a number 10 workplace booze ban. Well, that hasn't taken long, has it? Where's it all going to go? Did you see they even shipped in a fridge at one point? I'm surprised they didn't just turn it all over to one of the publicans and just let them run the place. Why don't they just set up Wetherspoons and just do occasional bit of work? That'd be easier. All this, of course, to try and win back support. So what is...
In a quarter of a mile, at the roundabout, take the first exit onto the M4 slip road to London Heathrow Airport.
Test the temperature of the water. Here's one. Sorry, Peter Bone. He's, by the way, his constituency is Wellingborough, Northamptonshire.
What I can tell you is what my experience was on the doorsteps in Northamptonshire, and it was clearly in support of the Prime Minister. Now, I live in the Westminster bubble, you live in the media bubble, and I expected to go back and find lots of people bringing up on the doorstep Boris and saying they were Conservative and they were going to vote for him. In fact, just the reverse. I had one lady who said to me on the doorstep, well, Boris, the things about Boris is a witch hunt. I have to say, colleagues who are criticising the Prime Minister, I think ought to go and knock on a few doors first.
Anyway, he was knocking on the door. Right, we're going to speak here with former advisors David Cameron and Philip Blond in just a moment. Let's just bring out that idea of declaring war on the BBC. Simon Jenkins, or Sir Simon Jenkins, a columnist of The Guardian, former editor of The Times and The Evening Standard.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
It's certainly one of the eye-catching ones, and it filled a lot of pages yesterday. Is he right to effectively declare war on the BBC? How popular might that be? Morning, Simon.
Good morning. Well, LBC, I'm sure it's not too worried, but what I can say about the BBC is, periodically, the BBC does get fantastically high popularity ratings whenever they do a survey. And I want this whole kind of trick that he's come up with the last week. I think I'd have left the BBC out of it, I really would.
What might you support from what you're hearing, or what you might have read?
Continue on M4 for 9 miles.
Almost nothing. I mean, it is an air of desperation to it. But one thing we do have to remember is that we in the media are not in charge, nor are we necessarily the best people to read the public mood. Nor do I think, I have to say, MPs standing on cold doorsteps in midwinter going to get a very accurate picture of what the public's view is. We are trying to decide whether a man is to remain as Prime Minister, not whether we like him or whether he's popular and all these things. And it's just impossible to say. I mean, he's not been a great success. I don't think he's been a great disaster, but he's not been a great success. Whether he ought to remain as Prime Minister for the next 2 or 3 years to the next election, I really don't know. I think most people involved, particularly most people in politics, think he's not very good at it. Would the other side be any better? I don't know. I do believe in the Confucian principle, which is it's always a good idea to ask what your enemy would most want you to do. And I think the Labour Party ought to want Boris Johnson to stay there. If I was the Labour Party, I wouldn't be going quite so hard to get rid of him.
Do you sense there's the energy within the Conservative Party for a leadership contest and a leadership vote? It seems to me a lot of them just seem pretty spent and burnt out with COVID and everything else.
Well, they're a typical bunch. The average longevity of a Tory party leader is about 3 years now. In the past, I've just counted for the past 20 years. There's more or less one every 3 years. It's not a very good sign of how good you are at choosing your leader, if that's their longevity. I just don't think anyone knows. I mean, you don't know, I don't know, we don't know what's going to happen. The great thing about politics, what makes it so fascinating, is that it's utterly unpredictable. I still think that when the Sue Gray report comes out, it's going to be very difficult for him to get out from under. I mean, she's going to be very, very rude about him, even if he's not broken the law. And I simply think he's got a very difficult job ahead of him. And coming up with all these popular slogans, being going for the BBC, bringing the Royal Navy to turn back dinghies in the Channel, it's really all pretty cheap stuff. I don't like to look at it this way.
Simon, thank you. Simon Jenkins, columnist with The Guardian, author, former editor of The Times, and indeed editor of The Evening Standard. Prior to that, Philip Blond was advisor to David Cameron and is director of the Res Publica think tank. It doesn't impress Simon. Does it impress you, some of these ideas, Philip? Morning.
Good morning, Nick. Look, I think it's the right idea because Johnson's purchase on his office is that he can deliver in the constituencies that now constitute the Conservative majority, which are constituencies where no Conservative really has ever succeeded before. So in order to convince MPs, he's got to come up with a policy package that demonstrates demonstrate to those MPs that he can save their seats. And it remains true that all of the rivals for Johnson's position are all Southeastern Liberals, and it's very hard to think that any of the rivals he talks about will do anything or can do anything or even care about the kind of working class seats that the Conservative Party has won in the North. So that is his strongest argument to his MPs, and I can keep the seats that we've won. So in attempting to orient his government around their needs is the right idea. Whether the policies that he's adopted are the right ones to do that is an open question, but certainly strategically, that's the right move.
But that surely, Philip, means that levelling up has got to mean something than rather just a snappy catchphrase.
Yes, of course it does. I mean, everything rests on this, and I've been saying this really ever since Johnson was elected, that the great danger is they don't have policies, they don't have ideas. They're all Southeastern Liberals. They're economic Liberals, they're social Liberals. And their constituency is not economically Liberal, they need public intervention at a grand scale to love her, and they're not social Liberals, they're cultural conservatives. And the parliamentary party has still not adapted to their new electoral majority. And they struggle to come up with something. When they do come up with something, it's normally incremental, tiny. They use the euphemism targeted, which means it won't make any difference. And the trouble is we've got the Chancellor in Sunak, who is now reverting to St George Osborne too, which is austerity and denying any money to fund the levelling up agenda, which requires very least enormous sums of money to make a difference. So given between a rock and a hard place.
And lastly, effectively declaring war on the BBC. I'm about to ask my listeners whether they support that. What am I likely to hear? Do you think that would be a popular move, Philip?
I'm not at all sure. The BBC does have problems. It's overwhelmingly staffed with middle-class cosmopolitan liberals, and it is true that the values and the aspirations and beliefs of the majority of people are not reflected in the BBC. I think that's true. But declaring war on a national institution that is still loved is, I think, the real mistake. And I think that that's a wrong move, and it would be seen as a light weapon rather than a transformative one. One can support the monarchy, but not like the present monarchy.
Philip, thank you. Always good to have you on the show. Philip Long, former advisor to David Cameron, now director of the Res Publica think tank. War on the BBC, does it have your support? We'll take your views on that. Also coming up after the news, the British terrorist close to Dallas.
From the news station, this is a Fox 4 News Alert. Breaking news out of Texas, where all remaining hostages held at that Fort Worth area synagogue are now free.
And I'm no bully, says former House of Commons Speaker John Bercow.
The basis upon which the findings have been reached against me is chronically unjust. To say that it's a kangaroo court is a very, very, very offensive insult to kangaroos.
7:15 LBC News headlines read by Simon Conway.
Counter-terror police have arrested 2 teenagers in Manchester in connection with a hostage-taking at a synagogue in the US. Boris Johnson has reportedly been interviewed by Sue Gray, the civil servant investigating lockdown parties in Downing Street. People in England can now end their COVID isolation period after 5 full days if they test negative on days 5 and 6. LBC weather, dry and sunny for most, a high of 9 degrees.
LBC Travel, I'm Joanne Webb. Delays of about half an hour on the M25 clockwise to junction 5 at the M26 from Forward Orpington because a lorry's broken down and one lane is closed for recovery. And also on the M25 there are delays of about half an hour anti-clockwise between junctions 28 at the A12 and 27 at the M11. This is following an accident where 2 lanes are closed. Very busy on the A13 westbound to the Beckton roundabout. That's because a car's broken down. On the underground, no service now on the Bank branch of the Northern Line between Moorgate and Kennington. It's for those major engineering works. Also on the Northern Line, minor delays on the entire line after a signal failure. And on the Jubilee line, Southwark Station remains closed.
LBC.
Oh, I'm sorry, we can't offer those massages right now.
A reflexologist at Jamie's Wellbeing Centre is relocating. They need to hire an extra pair of hands to ease the pressure.
But we hope to take bookings again soon.
Indeed can help them find great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Add essential questions to your job post that help screen applicants for must-have requirements. To start hiring, visit Indeed.com/try today.
Call Nick Ferrari now. 0345 6060 973 LBC. Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
With the British Airways American Express Accelerating Business Card. Earn Avios while you spend.
Picture the scene. Warm summer sun, the smell of sea air, and ice cream. Ice cream with sprinkles. It feels so good. Know what else feels so good? Knowing that Pension B combined your old pensions into one simple online plan, managed by one of the world's largest money managers, for peace of mind. Be pension confident.
In 2 miles, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
Capital at risk. Today's 199 wrap of the day is the sweet chili chicken one, guaranteed to cause flavour envy. Picture a soft and tea wrap filled with
Crispy chicken. Bet that nail makes it tastier. Sweet chili sauce too. I'm sold.
Today's 199 sweet chili chicken one. So big on flavour, everyone will want some. Only at McDonald's. From 11 a.m.
At O2, we know 1 month you could be running your business on your own. But the next month, you need help. That's okay, because our business contracts can flex as your needs change. And with us, you can get 3 months half price on unlimited data tariffs for business. Choose the flexible network. Search O2 Business.
First 3 months half price on eligible devices and selected business tariffs only over 24 to 36 months. Full price afterwards. Eligibility and terms apply. See o2.co.uk/terms.
A new sofa can't show your kids the other side of the world. Nobody ever went on a wild ride in a new wardrobe. And you definitely won't find precious memories in a large capacity washing machine. At Virgin Atlantic, we know that things are just stuff. Experience something you'll never replace. Book New Year deals to unforgettable destinations now.
You're a visionary, an entrepreneur, a passionate business owner, driven by results and poised for growth. You need Opportunity. They easily match businesses of all sizes to winnable council, NHS and national government contracts. Just sign up, match with tenders, and they'll help with the rest. Now is the time. Seize your opportunity. Get your free trial at opportunity.com.
Opportunity. OPPORTUNI.com.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
20 after 7 come to your reactions declaring war on the BBC, the wisdom or otherwise of that policy or tactic. Chris is going to be the first caller. Let me walk you through the the front pages of the newspapers and of course the LBC website as well. The papers, a lot of them going with what we're going with. Because there is a heck of a conversation about it, and this the Daily Mail, the Daily Express PM fight back plan to level up Britain. We've looked at plans of that. Prime Minister calls in military to stem flow of migrants is another aspect, and that's the front page of the Times. Operation Dead Meat. Now that's the eye, quite clever that one actually. That being, they have come up with some of the most uninspired names. Imagine Operation Save Boris. So now a 5-year-old could have got that. The latest one is Operation Red Meat, i.e. throwing red meat to you, me, the voters. I have turned it into Operation Dead Meat, which is probably quite clever. Front page of The Guardian has this story as well. PM accused of attacking BBC to save his own skin. Johnson's scapegoats is the Daily Mirror. Another political story or events in Parliament we've already heard on the LBC News Bulletin. For the Daily Telegraph, Johnson questioned by Gray over Partygate. Of course, it was suggested in the middle of last week that we might hear the outcome of that report at some time this week, and I think probably many of us are eagerly awaiting that. The Metro has farewell to Mr. Djokovic. Go pack Djokovic. Go pack Djokovic, as you can go pack your bags and get out of there. The Daily Mail, Starmer must say sorry for drinks in lockdown. As Tory MPs ask what's the difference between Sir Keir's beer and PM's work event. Well, of course, Sir Keir is with us later in the show, so you might want to put that question to him. The Sun has on your own, Harry, the Queen will not help Prince Harry in his demand for Met Police bodyguards. Just to clarify, it would appear that he is prepared to pay for them. It's whether effectively the state are prepared to release Met Police detectives in this fashion, and it appears not. That's more detail in the next hour. Very big business story we'll tell you about in approximately 10 minutes' time. GSK and Pfizer held out for £60 billion consumer arm bid from Unilever. Full details on that, as I said, around 10 minutes. Okay, Chris in Richmond, the wisdom or otherwise, declaring war on the BBC. What say you? Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Well, I think insanity. I think this is a classic distraction tactic for the government. I mean, most people like the BBC. Yes, it's not perfect. Yes, it probably pays one or two of its stars a little bit too much money. But the reality is it's given us line of duty. It's given us BBC bite-sized during lockdown. It gives us world service. And it gives us, frankly, uninformed and unbiased news, which in 4 other countries I've lived around the world.
Do you know I was with you?
Everything like it's good at it.
I was with you. I was with you all the way. You don't think in some programmes, not all, and it would be ludicrous to say that the entire organisation of its size, do you not sometimes see some material that you think, wow, that is not independent on the BBC, that should not a state-run broadcast material? You never think that, Chris?
Well, I'd like people to give examples. I mean, I think the reality is, this government has made so many mistakes that, the reality is it has to be challenged by people. And if you look at them, clearly the government is angry and upset about the last couple of weeks. But the irony is, it was like Paul Brown from ITV that has released all these stories, but the BBC didn't even get the scoop.
And I say again, it is an enormous organisation, but you asked for an example. Famously, Emily Maitlis, who's a journalist I admire, a tremendous journalist, when she said the Prime Minister lied and the country's seen through it over the Dominic Cummings affair, come on, that was the interpretation, not necessarily hers, but that was somebody's interpretation on Newsnight being found, was it not?
Well, I disagree. I think it's clear the Prime Minister has been lying. He's been lying all along for the last 6 months. He told us there were no parties, and then,
No, hold on, we're going back to Dominic Cummings, and all I'm saying is, you then, on the BBC, you then have to have someone say, well, I don't think he is lying. Do you see what I'm saying? If you're going to provide balance, there was no balance in that report right after Dominic Cummings. I know we are going back.
Okay, maybe an exception, but if you go back to Brexit, I mean, they had all sorts of ridiculous things. You had people like Roger Daltrey, music artists. They're bringing, now look at Question Time. There's people on that panel.
Oh, I know, I get it.
I think my 11-year-old could provide better balance.
Well, if you're 11-year-olds, I would certainly get in my place, because I'm sure she would give a lot better account. Chris, always good speaking. You best of the family. Thank you. Paul in Brecon. Paul, do you share Chris's a fair view, I think, possibly, of a giant organisation? Good morning.
No, I don't, but there are many examples, individual examples of biasness from the BBC.
Right.
But not only that, the model itself, if you don't wish to watch the BBC, but you wish to watch any other live channel, you have to pay for it.
I know.
To the BBC, that is a model that is basically completely out of date and has to be stopped. Now, if it's so popular, let the people who want to watch it pay.
What, via subscription, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
In 300 yards, at junction 3, take the A312 exit to Harrow, Hayes.
No, it's so wrong. If I want to watch Sky or I want to watch ITV, I have to pay the BBC. That's indefensible. So we can't do anything else.
I agree. I mean, that is more the licence fee debate, which we've had many, many times. It is, as I remember when I explained when I was working many years ago in the States, and I explained it, and they said, but this is like, you have to buy a licence to go on the freeways when you're driving, or the motorways, but you never use the motorways, you only ever use...
Exit at junction 3.
So you never actually... No, but you have to pay. Yeah, that's the quirk in Britain. All right, Paul, thank you. We'll have more reaction. War on the BBC. Well-founded or misplaced. More of your views on that in a moment. Now to a story that is on the front page of the LBC website. And this is
In a quarter of a mile, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the 4th exit onto the Parkway, A312.
FBI in Texas synagogue. That's the front page, as I say that now. The papers haven't had a chance to change up to that, but the LBC website has. Let's get more details on this story. Straight to Blackburn, and it's Tom Dunn, the LBC man, that will explain why he's in that city. Tom, morning.
Well, Nick, Greater Manchester Police confirmed last night that 2 teenagers arrested in South Manchester have been taken into custody for questioning about their links to this attack at a synagogue in Texas. The standoff, lasting several hours, ended with a man being shot dead. He's now been confirmed as 44-year-old Malik Faisal Akram from Blackburn. US President Joe Biden praised emergency services for the response and called the act an attack an act of terror.
This was an act of terror. This was an act of terror. And not only was related to someone who had been arrested, I might add, 15 years ago and been in jail for 10 years. The idea is it was something new. And they did just a great job. I also told him that I wanted to make sure we got the word out to synagogues and places of worship that we're not going to tolerate this.
The hostage taker's family confirmed they had been liaising with authorities at the time Akram was holding several people hostage, but said there was nothing they could have done to convince him to surrender. Gulbar Akram, the attacker's brother, said the family apologized to the victims and that Malik had been suffering from what they say was mental health issues. During the incident, which saw police first called at 11 o'clock in the morning and ended with the release of the final hostages at around 9 o'clock in the evening, the man could be heard ranting on the synagogue's live stream on Facebook of the service.
Exit the roundabout onto the parkway.
Suspect speaking in an English accent, saying that you've got to do something, I don't want to see this guy dead, and that don't cry for me, I'm going to die. This happened all just before the feed.
Continue on the parkway for 1 mile.
The release of Pakistani neuroscientist Afia Siddiqui, who is convicted of trying to kill US Army officers in Afghanistan and is currently in prison in Texas. Matthew D. Sarno from the FBI says the investigation will have global reach.
We do believe from our engagement with this subject that he was singularly focused on one issue, and it was not specifically related to the Jewish community, but we're continuing to work to find motive, and we will continue on that path. In terms of the resolution of the incident, the hostage taker is deceased. We will conduct an independent investigation. My evidence response team will be here to process the scene, and a team from Washington will be here to conduct an independent investigation of the shooting incident, and that's the way we handle those things through our normal standard operating procedure.
Nick, officials in the US believe that Akram had a visa, arrived at JFK Airport in New York around 2 weeks ago and bought a handgun used in the incident. Here, Greater Manchester Police and Counter-Terror have said they will continue to liaise with the FBI on this ongoing investigation.
Tom Dunn reporting 7:29. Some of your emails, texts and tweets coming in on whether or not this policy or policies that you're going to hear, the blizzard of policies, are going to save the Prime Minister. Jason in Thruston in Lincolnshire, you're a gatekeeper. The Tory party, the Labour party, the first past the post system has to go.
In a quarter of a mile, at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit and stay on the parkway, A312.